Hey, I'm Mincy. I'm a DJ and producer. I run the label Extra Spicy and the event Dayshift, and I'm here talking to Mixmag ANZ. I had a very big kind of push into the rock, metal, glam rock world, really big push. Throughout kind of my late high school and into my early 20s. And it was just like all encompassing of my life. And then I got a job at a clothes store in Newtown. And the girl that worked there said, hey, there's this guy playing named Roscoe on Oxford Street. I think you'd like it. It's called this thing called dubstep. And it's like this cool new thing and I think you'll like it. I think you should come along and see if you're into it. And literally that night just changed the whole trajectory of my life. From there, I got pretty heavily into like the Starfuckers, Bang Gang, Ajax, Bloghouse, electro scene. I was at 77 every week till the lights came on and then straight down the road to work. Yeah, I mean, from there, dubstep kind of took me into UK garage, and it just kind of spiraled from there, really. Pretty much. I was in my mid-20s. I was in my like peak of partying and raving. I remember this one particular night up in King's Cross where you couldn't buy drinks, you couldn't do anything. It was like a dubstep gig, and I just remember thinking, I don't want to go. I want to fight the good fight, but I have to. I got so much that I want to do and so much I want to be a part of, and it's just not happening here. I mean, we didn't know when they were going to end, and it was feeling very final when it all came into play. You know, like when I talk about these gigs, you got to remember it was like one every 3 months. Like DJ Easy would come out, and the 30 of us that were into UK Garage would be like, fuck, DJ Easy's coming out. But like the vast majority of people had no idea what was going on. So like it just wasn't feasible for people to come out here. Like Loafer came out at one point, DJ Q maybe at one point. I can really remember the like individual gigs of that were on, and it wasn't enough to like satiate where my head was at and where I wanted, how involved I wanted to be in that culture. And you know, you watch these like documentaries and you realize, fuck, there's something really big going on overseas and I feel like I need to be there. So I as much as I didn't want to go, I'm really glad that I did. Yeah, so we'd done a few events with Extra Spicy pre-COVID. COVID hit and I'd kind of started DJing at this point. I really only started at the last year of me being in the UK. So when I came back, we only had about a year and a half, 2 years of me trying to find my feet in Sydney. Trying to find my feet in Sydney as someone who'd been missing for 2.5 years and has come back playing a genre of music like garage and bassline that absolutely nobody who was listening to was a pretty hard feat to try and get some gigs, which is also why I started running Extra Spicy to give myself those gigs. So as soon as COVID hit, I was worried that Extra Spicy was going to, and Mincy was going to lose its momentum that I had kind of built in that time period, which was a lot of hard work. So that's how the label was born. I had to think like, what are we going to do that's going to like keep moving things along as we can't actually be out there running events. So yeah, on the Extra Spicy side, I was like, well, we start a label, we start releasing music. You know, at this point I started to kind of make some connections with some other heads around here, making garage and breaks and jungle and things. And then on the Mincy side, I was like, okay, I can't DJ, you know, doing a live stream every once in a while that was like barely scratching the surface. I'd always wanted to produce and I was like, well, I'm sitting at home doing nothing. Maybe I should just download Ableton and see what happens. Because I spent 15 years clubbing before I even opened up Ableton, and something in you like subconsciously knows what sounds good. You know, it knows when two notes aren't working together. It knows when something sounds shit, essentially. For me personally, I feel like I can hear when an artist doesn't know at least some of the history of the genre that they're trying to make. So it may be that they've used as like a sample from a really old track that's really famous, but you know, not in a like homage type way, but in a like, oh, this is a cool vocal, and it's like, yeah, but it's also it's a pivotal vocal on something else. You start to see these little clues along the way, and you just think, I don't think that artist is quite there. You know, I spent a lot of time on Ableton. I know all of the garage loops. I've heard them, right? Like I've heard all the Spice samples. I've heard every ragga vocal sample you could ever think of. I have heard it, and I have been sent every single one of them to Extra Spicy. You start to hear those same ones over and over again. It's just like, these are not the people digging deeper. They're not the people that are really like studying what's going on. I think everybody should be able to create whatever they like. I think music benefits from having gatekeepers. And I know that's maybe a very controversial thing to say, but I think things like labels and you know, the old heads, I know they get a bad rap, but I do think they play a part in maintaining the integrity of a lot of these genres, right? Having good labels, good solid labels that have run for many years, there's a reason why they have, and it's because they're gatekeeping, it's because they're turning away 90% of the stuff that's coming in and they're only letting good stuff come through. On a surface level, you know, it seems like it's people not allowing everybody to be a part of it. That's not what it is. Like, you know, you think about like 30 years ago, right? Before digital music was really as accessible as it is now. So you'd have vinyl, and it cost a lot of money to cut on vinyl. And so you'd have these gatekeepers that would tell you yes or no, your music was good enough or not good enough for that. And like they weren't called gatekeepers then, they were just called like A&R or label heads or whatever. And now those guys, they're still around and they've got an ear for it, and they know, and they're just saying probably the same things, and they're getting told, oh, you're gatekeeping. But it's like, no, they're just rolling with the same opinions that they had before. They just don't want to release you shaggy bootleg, like, or whatever, you know, like whatever it is, you know, like maybe it's not that good. I don't know, like there's plenty of things that I make that I'm like, no, that's not that good. Sometimes you just need someone to be down to earth, tell you stuff's not good, and that's a gatekeeper. And sometimes they've got to say the hard things. I mean, I have to say the hard things too with my label. Like sometimes I have to send emails I don't want to send. Sometimes I have to say this is not good. Like somebody has to do it, or we just end up with 4,000, you know, whatever bootlegs, which we did anyway. So maybe we needed more gatekeepers. The 90s is kind of having its moment at the moment. So like the happy house and the hard house and the hardcore, and yeah, that's having a huge moment. And it's almost like it's building off the story that happened 30 years ago. So I feel like everything kind of cycles through this like 20, 30 year period. So it's almost like not to discredit the people who have continued that sound, but you know, that genre had its big moment in the 90s, and then it has become a little more niche, and now it's having another big moment. And it's like, it's just creating this next chapter in that kind of world story, essentially, I guess. Yeah, definitely there's always gonna be inauthentic people and parties and people trying to cannibalize that. But I think there is a lot of, you know, there's like younger people coming through that weren't there for the first time. So we can't, I don't think it's fair to say, oh, we're done with that. Let's move along to the next thing. Or no, you weren't there, you don't understand it. Because I actually think it's quite sweet and nice that a lot of kids that are coming through now are doing the research and doing the history, and, you know, passionate about the history of whatever the genre is that they're into. I think it's a good thing. We should let them celebrate that. When I started getting booked for these really big festivals, I wanted the biggest crowd, I wanted the biggest reaction, like I wanted what every artist wants. I wanted those big videos. I wanted, like, you know, all the like glory that comes with it. And I did a few sets like that, and yep, I had all of that. And then I realized pretty quickly it wasn't authentically me. So I'm really now trying to find that balance between playing these big shows and like connecting with an audience. I don't want to go in there playing like, yeah, I'm not going to give them a history lesson in obscure dance music, but I think it's also really important that I'm trying to find a bit more of a balance, bringing a club side to the festival side and vice versa. Those bigger festivals, respectfully, no, they will never be underground. The bigger spaces want to be the underground, but they're just not. They're never going to be. Those bigger festivals, you know, they are festivals for a reason. They have financial backing from larger, you know, advertising and brands for a reason, and they serve their purpose in what they do. But the underground serves its own purpose in what it does. But some of those bigger festivals, no, I think they're just using the word underground to be cool, just like we're all using the word boiler room 360s.
What do you think about the use of the term boiler room 360?
I fucking hate it. I've hated it since day one. We have to get rid of it. Just get rid of it. It's a terrible name. Absolutely, we have a hard time retaining older members of the scene, and I don't know why. It's such a foreign concept to me, because like, you don't just stop liking that music when you turn 40, say. Like, you still like that music, and you can go to a club and have a different experience than what you were having when you were 18. I mean, I certainly do now that I'm in my 30s. Like, I'm not raving like I was at 18, but I still genuinely enjoy going out when I'm not playing, and I try and go out all the time. I do think the onus is on the promoters and the clubs a little bit as well. and it's on them to do things like booking older DJs, or not just older, but you know, people who were established in the scene. Like, you know, Sydney has a really, really great network of DJs that have been doing it since the 90s and are still doing it, you know, like rattle off 1,000 names here about it. Making sure that the older people you want to retain are A, being able to see new artists, but B, also being able to see the artists that they've grown up with and they've loved. Like, not just these one-off like reunion parties every now and again, like keep that culture going. So I do think it's on the promoter to think about that as well, not just market, you know, we're just doing hard techno because that's what 18-year-old kids want to listen to. Like, you're gonna have to take some risks for the people to keep coming back. I mean, it's a difficult time to go out at the moment anyway though, like it's so expensive, you know, having this conversation on Human Movement's post today about, I'm sure you probably saw it as well, yeah, about how hard it is to sell tickets at the moment. Like, everyone's so broke. So I get, and it's crazy because, like, you know, theoretically the older crowd should be the ones that should be able to afford it the more, but like, we're all got mortgages and I don't know. We're losing that passion by making the people famous that just want to look good. Like, you know, I'm so anti the big spectacle, like stand on the DJ booth, take your shirt off. We need to go back to the freaks. Like, we need to make more freaks and weirdos famous. That's what we need. Bring the freaks and weirdos forward. And that's when we'll start to have the good sets again and have people dancing in the club. And that was my attention about that. Bring the freaks back. It is true. It is true. You know, Dunge and Big Ting and all those kind of, like the guys that I now run Dayshift with, essentially. This is where we cut our teeth, and we spent so long building these communities that, like, I will forever come back here. There's really no party you go to that will ever be like a Sydney Inner West secret location party. I will never get sick of walking an artist into a DIY space, ever. I've done countless shows now. You know, I can remember the first time we had Interplanetary Criminal and Main Phase across the road, and like trying to explain to Zach, like, so it's like this space, just don't tell anyone the address till later on, and like bringing them in and them just being like, what the fuck, you know? And like that show's like gone down in history. And you know, recently we had Capoli and Bakey here and Stones Tarot, and they were just like, I left, they stayed till 7 a.m. or something ridiculous. Like, we've really built this like quite magical thing, and it's so like intriguing to people who aren't here every weekend. And I love introducing other people to it because it's like, it's kind of re-magicalized to me as well. Best piece of advice is create your own opportunities. You know, that's exactly how I got to where I am at now. I made my own record label, I made my own event. I taught myself to produce, I did all of that. Just make whatever you need to make to get yourself to the point you want to get to.